guys, welcome back to my channel. So as you can tell by the title of this video, we are going to be talking all about Andrew Tate, doing a deep dive into him because why not? He's a very interesting person. We'll put it that way. He's very interesting. So first thing I thought I'd talk about is his childhood because I think it's important to understand a person's background. So Andrew Tate was born December 1st, 1986. He was born in Maryland in like a medical center with the army. Now, he was raised as a Christian and his dad was his biggest role model. His dad was a chess master, so he really got connected to chess himself. He played a lot, but his parents did end up separating and he moved to England with his mother. And when he moved there, he kind of had to give up playing chess because his chess coach wasn't in England, he was in the USA. And in England, chess really wasn't like a big thing yet, really. It wasn't super popular over there. It wasn't like as big as it was in the US. Now, next thing to talk about is his career, kind of how he got all this money, how he came to be as popular as he is. So, kind of what started a lot of his career, you could say, is he was a kickboxer in the UK. Now, he did win 4 titles, 4 championships for kickboxing, so he was good at it, but this wasn't a job that made tons of money. So, once he quit kickboxing, he, needed some money. Him and his brother needed money, and Andrew knew that he knew some of these ring women, so he thought, okay, well, how can I get money, right? So he was scrolling, looking on the internet, and he came across a webcam business. And he decided, well, why don't I start my own webcam business with these women that I already know? So he got the woman, they decided to do the webcam business, and it made him tons of money. He made a lot of money off of this webcam business. Now, another thing that he said he did, or still does this day, I guess, he owns some casinos in Romania. Like I said, I don't know if he still does. There was tons of legal problems and things that he went through, so I don't know if he still owns these casinos. I don't know if he sold them since. I don't really know. But he did at one point own casinos in Romania. Now, along with that, he also started a online university to teach people how to make money. It was called Hustlers University from the beginning. That's what it was called, but it has changed multiple times. So I think it's just, I don't know. I don't exactly know the exact title at the moment, but it has changed. So it's not called Hustlers University anymore. Basically, you'd pay $40 a month and get access to online lectures, different things like that, video calls with these professors, I guess. They're just not actually like teachers per se, but they were, say, like if there was somebody who like got tons of money off of Bitcoin, he would have that person that Andrew Tate knew that got a lot of money off Bitcoin teach other people how to get a lot of money off of it. Kind of like that idea. That's how he would like get his teachers and professors for this university. Now, another thing that he does have is he has a secret society, and it is called the War Room. It's basically where a bunch of men get together, do things, they'll talk, they'll have nice dinners, things like that. Probably talk about the Matrix. I bet you they're definitely talking about the Matrix for sure. Yeah, I'm gonna do a whole video on the War Room because there's just, yeah. So I'm not really gonna talk about that much in this video, but I thought I'd give it a mention because it is important, It's an important thing that he's done. Now, how he really became popular and known as he is known today was sharing his unpopular opinions. His opinions are wild. To say, he says things like that women are property of men almost, and just different things like that. And I'll talk about that. That's the next thing we're going to talk about, all of his problematic opinions. I'm going to share my thoughts on them. So I don't want to get too much into it, but that's kind of what like boosted him to popularity, because obviously he's sharing these crazy ideas. And when you share crazy ideas, people go, oh my gosh, did you hear? Like, it's one of those kind of things. If you share popular opinions, people are probably going to click on it because they're unpopular for a reason. Not a lot of people agree with them. Now, basically what was a consequence of this, of him saying these things, was he did get banned off of all social media platforms. Other platforms too, like Uber and things like that. Now, at the time when he first got banned, he said that he was contacting lawyers about trying to get back on these platforms.
Who's the first one to take you off?
Meta.
Meta was first. So
Meta.
Facebook, Instagram.
Bam.
Okay. And then it was a domino effect.
Yeah, so Meta took me down. So it's quite interesting, actually. I had a YouTube channel for a while. It was never so large. I had 738,000 subscribers. It took me a long time to build it up. I got a strike on YouTube, which prevented me from posting. It's got a strike. No big deal. The next day, Meta took me down, deleted my Facebook and my Instagram. The press came out at exactly the same time in sync, saying that I'm a misogynistic, dangerous person, that I'm harmful, that I am the reason that the world is not a perfect place, world hunger, you name it, all my fault. Attacked me across all of this. And I thought, okay, let me film a message that I can get out on my YouTube, my final message, which I don't know if you guys have seen. I ended up putting on freetopg.com. Let me film my final message explaining how this is unfair and unjust. We filmed it, we produced it, we got it all edited within 12 hours, head to toe ready to go, but we couldn't post it because of the YouTube strike. So we're waiting for the YouTube strike to expire. A few hours before the YouTube strike expires, guess what happens? They banned me from YouTube. Then they banned me from Discord. Then they banned me from Airbnb. They banned me from Stripe. I can't even remember.
Airbnb?
It was just emails coming in faster than you could believe. Banned.
So it wasn't just the socials.
Oh, no. The Matrix presses a button, my friend.
Yeah.
And every app on your phone stops working. Uber. You name it. Uber.
But that never really happened. He did get back. He's on X, but that's about it. I don't think he's on any other platform at the moment. He is still banned off of them. So that's kind of an updated status, I guess, on that one. So now we're going to be talking about his unpopular opinions. I'm going to tell you them. I'll tell you one. I'm going to share my opinions on it. And that's kind of how I'm going to do it. I think it's the easiest way to format it and just make everything run kind of smoothly. So the first probably problematic opinion that he has is he believes that women should serve men and how women actually like to do that.
What they don't understand is that the relationships I'm describing are not just perfect for the man. Women are absolutely happy serving a man they respect. Women are absolutely happy saying, you know what? I know I have the best man on the planet and I know I make him happy. Women are happy with that.
Yeah, that's true.
They're far more happy with that than they are working some fucking career.
Yeah.
And some garbage. Oh, I have thoughts and opinions and a job.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Have kids, sit at home, be quiet, make coffee.
Yeah.
And it makes everybody happier in the long run.
Now, personally for me, I know I'm not going to sit around, wait on a man while he doesn't do anything. Like, I feel like there are, like, it depends on what you mean by serve. I know what he means by serve, right? Like, he means, like, complete, like, whatever the man says the woman should do kind of deal. You know, like, I don't know. For me, like, if you go and say, hey, can you go grab that for me? Sure. You know what I mean? But, like, it's not going to be like I'm a complete, like, I'll do whatever you want. I agree with whatever you agree with, like, kind of deal like that. And that's what he means. He means, like, full extreme version. He doesn't mean just, like, little things. Like, he means to the full extent. So for me, no, I don't agree with that whatsoever. That's definitely an unpopular opinion. I don't agree with it. I feel like a lot of people probably don't. A lot of men might, some women might, but the majority of people don't. Now, another problematic opinion of his is he believes that men should have multiple partners and women should only have one.
Hold on, though. Have you had a serious relationship?
I have many concurrent serious relationships as we speak.
Are you poly?
No, because that means they can talk to other dudes. That's fucking haram. That's atrocious. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Agreed. Throughout the majority of human history, female promiscuity has been absolutely frowned upon. Only in the Western world we're going to pretend it's an okay thing. Every single culture since the dawn of human time and every single place on the planet has said that female promiscuity is disgusting to the point where females were executed for it.
Now, his explanation for this is that a lot of men have, in, history, have had multiple partners. And the reason for this, it's to make as many kids as possible, right? And, if women have multiple partners back in the old days, you wouldn't know who the father was. But if a man doesn't, you know who the father is. So it's that he kind of uses, like, references to the past and to history to really back a lot of his arguments. And this is one where he definitely uses the references to the past. My personal opinion, I don't agree with that at all. First of all, I am Catholic, so for me, that goes against my religion, first of all. And second of all, I feel like if I'm with a man, I want him to only be with me. I don't want him being with other people. And this is another opinion that we'll get into later about him, because he has other views about that too. But yeah, for me, it's like, if I'm dating somebody, I want them to be loyal to me. I don't care if a man being loyal doesn't mean that they can't go like cheat on you. Like, that's not a man being loyal. Like, I don't care. I don't care what a man defines as a man being loyal. I'm telling you, if I'm with somebody, I don't want them dating other people. I don't like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just how I feel. I'm sure there are a lot of other women who probably agree with me. There might be some that don't. You know, I know some religions that still happens, you know, multiple partners, and it's fine. And you know what? If you're fine with that, if you're a woman and you're fine with your man dating other people, that's fine. You know, you can have your beliefs. That's fine. Just for me personally, I personally do not agree with that, and that's just personally how I feel about it, but I know other people have different views on it. So, the next very, very unpopular opinion, which I feel like made a lot of people very, very mad, is he said that he believes that women should take some responsibility if they are raped.
Where it says, I say that women should bear some responsibility for being raped. I'd like to take this time and explain what I was saying in long format video, which has been completely misconstrued. I was talking about a girl. I was having an argument with a feminist, and she was saying that we need to teach men not to rape. And I said, my dear, I love how idealistic you are, but I'm realistic. Men are already taught not to rape. She's like, no, we need to go and change language at school and rewrite history and do all the shit they're trying to do to make men weak because they think that weak men don't rape, which is another argument I want to come back to because weak men are the most dangerous men on the planet. Let's talk about that later. But I said, no, people already understand that rape is wrong. Unfortunately, human nature, some people don't care about doing wrong things. We should teach people not to steal, but they still steal. Would you agree that everyone says don't steal? The Bible says don't steal. The Quran says don't steal. Schools say don't steal. Everyone says don't steal. People still steal. So if I were to take $1 million in cash and walk down the street at night in the worst part of town holding it, to a degree, I would have some responsibility. When I got robbed, the police would come and say, why did you do that? People would say, Andrew, why did you do that? You have to protect yourself from things. You can't just rely on the ideological hope that other people in the world are going to be perfect and infallible, or that the law is going to prevent it. You have to say, no, I can't walk through the ghetto at 2 a.m. with $1 million in cash. I take personal responsibility. She agreed. I said, then by extension, would you agree that the smartest thing a woman can do to prevent rape is not to sit here on a podcast and try and change the way men think and talk about your bullshit, but to take some degree of personal responsibility and not put yourself in dangerous situations? I'm not saying that's going to prevent all rape. I'm not saying that rape is okay. Rapists should be executed. I'm not saying that every single woman who was ever assaulted could have prevented it. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying the smartest thing a woman can do is say, this is dangerous. Going home with this guy I just met is dangerous. Walking through this area by myself is dangerous. Let me call a taxi. Let me call my brother. Let me go with my husband. Isn't that a more intelligent way to teach women to prevent themselves from being raped, as opposed to telling them you can do whatever you want, walk around in the middle of the night naked, it's no problem. Men shouldn't rape, men are the problem. I said, what you're trying to do is illogical. What I'm trying to say will actually prevent rape. So what you're saying, when you're telling girls do whatever you want, men are the problem, you're convincing women to put themselves in situations where bad things might happen to them. Whereas I'm saying, listen, women and men, look after yourselves.
Now, first of all, that is a wild opinion because it's the person that's doing the act, right? It's, in this case scenario, it would be the man's fault. I don't care. It's fully on the man. You know what I mean? Like, yes, there are some things that women could do to maybe keep themselves out of situations, which I think is what his point was. But at the same time, if they don't, you know what I mean? I don't think we should be saying, oh yeah, it's partially the woman's fault. I don't think that we should do that. I feel like I know there's certain things that I want to do just because it's really risky. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, if someone does that and something happens, they should take some responsibility, because that's just wild. I get what he's trying to say, but I feel like it's just not right? Like, how, you know what I mean? Like, that's like saying if a robber steals something from a store, the store should take some responsibility because the security wasn't good enough. You're not gonna blame the store, you're gonna blame the robber. The store shouldn't take any responsibility. It should be the robber's fault. He's the one that went out there and did it. Same idea, I feel like. Obviously, the robbing is way less of a bad thing as opposed to, SA and that stuff. But yeah, so for me, I think this is probably one of his worst takes ever. And he has said a lot of crazy things, but this is definitely, I think, one of the worst ones by far. Now, another opinion that he has stated is he believes that feminists cannot defend feminism.
Feminism in and of itself can't be defended. The point of an idea is that it can be defended by the people who believe in it. This has been the whole point of war since the dawn of time. It doesn't matter if it was the Christians against the Hindus. It doesn't matter if it was the Germans against the French. There were people who had ideas and ideologies, and they're prepared to fight each other to defend their ideology. Feminism is an ideology which cannot be defended by feminists. The only people who could defend feminism are the men who subscribe to the garbage. If all the feminists were to get in a line and say, we want feminism, and the conservative men were to get in a line, you would learn very quickly it's bullshit.
Now, okay, maybe he has not been talking to the right people. Maybe not. Maybe he doesn't think that they are defending it like how he would want them to defend it or things like that. Because I feel like they definitely do defend it. Maybe just not to his standards and his expectations, things like that. But yeah, if there are any Andrew Tate fans watching this video and you're watching this and you also agree with this take, please comment down below. Say why you don't think feminists defend feminism, because I will. I will defend it. I will respond to your comment and I'll defend it. Okay, how about that? How about we do that thing? If you have a problem with feminism, say it down below, and I'll defend feminism. Someone who's a feminist, I'll defend it because I can. There are definitely other women out there who can. I bet you people he's talked to definitely have. He just doesn't think that they have, because in his mind, it's his way. No one else's views matter, and yeah. I don't know, I think I've seen some interviews where he's talked to people who have defended it. I don't know what you expect them to do necessarily to defend it. I mean, I feel like they do, but obviously what they're doing is just not enough for him because, he's top G, apparently. So, there's that for you, I guess. So, his next opinion and belief is he says that no relationship is good unless the man is in charge.
The point is this: in every relationship that's beautiful, every relationship that's happy, regardless of the socioeconomic scale, regardless of how rich or poor they are, regardless of how famous they are, regardless of how whatever, in every relationship where people are truly happy, pay attention. The man is in charge. He's the top G of that house. His woman makes him feel that way. She respects him for what he does, and they are happy.
Now, I hate this idea that a man is in charge of the relationship. I hate the idea that there is anybody in charge of the relationship. I don't think the woman should be in charge either. I think it should be a mutual thing, right? I think that, if you're making a decision, you should be able to have a conversation about it. It shouldn't be what the man says goes. I don't think it should go like that. And I also don't think it should go whatever the woman says goes. I feel like it should be a nice compromise because it's a relationship. You guys one person shouldn't be making all the decisions. Apparently, Andrew Tate thinks one person should be making all the decisions. But for me, it's like, I don't think anybody should be in charge. I'm not saying that a woman should be in charge either. I think that it should just be a mutual thing, as opposed to one person taking control of everything, if you know what I mean. Now, another thing that he says that all women are sex workers.
Was mine a stupid decision?
I wouldn't say it's any more stupid than most decisions women make, to be honest with you. I think that most women, to some degree, are sex workers anyway. Let's be honest about it, right? Most women look at Miami or Dubai. What's your job? Oh, I've got a boyfriend. So your job is being a girlfriend. And why does he give you money? Because you give him sex. So most women are sex workers anyway.
Now, for me, this is a little bit like, what are you even talking about? In his debate and his argument for it, he states that, most women, well, all women, I guess, because that's what he said, they're either doing OF, and if they're not doing OF, they're out there with their boyfriends get them everything, and their husbands get them everything, and they're sleeping with them, so that's sex work. Now, first of all, I want to make this very clear. There are a lot of women who have been very successful without relying on a man, right? There are plenty of actresses who have done successful. Say what you want. Say what you want, but there have definitely been a lot of successful people. There have been singers. There have been plenty of people who have made good money, who have good lives, and they're not relying on a man to provide for all those things. They're not relying on a man to financially support both of them. Like, they are making their own money. Like, for me, the biggest example is Taylor Swift. Look at Taylor Swift. She didn't rely on a man. People be like, oh, but she's saying about them. She's saying about them, so what? So she's saying about them. So, men sing about women all the time in songs. You're saying that men are relying on women to make their money? No, that's never an argument. But they'll make that argument if it's a woman singing about a man. So for me, not a good argument. I don't want to hear it because you're just being hypocritical at that point. That argument is, like I said, you'd hold standards for women that you don't hold for men. So for me, it's like, don't even start that argument because it's a losing battle for you because it's hypocritical, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think that all women are. I feel like there are plenty who aren't. I'm not. There are a lot of people who definitely are not. So I feel like this idea is just, it's just another way to put women down, put them, see them in a certain way. Like, it's just one of those things that just view people, you know what I mean? And that's all he's trying to do. He's trying to push his narratives and make people see what he sees, and he does this by saying crazy things and having to explain them and say like all these huge and big words that people don't fully understand and say things in ways that people don't fully understand them. So you're like, oh yeah, this makes 100%, like this is so much sense. Why is no one else talking about this? It does not make sense, I'll tell you that much. So, yeah, another opinion that I do not agree with him on. So, another opinion that he has stated is he believes that the LGBTQ plus community go after people's children because they cannot have their own.
The gays are after your kids. No, we're not. Of course they are. Because they can't have their own. Mm-hmm. So how do they have a future of a movement unless they get your kids? They need you as a straight man to dedicate his life to a woman, to have children, to raise those children, to pay for those children, to protect those children, to provide for those children, to be responsible for those children all those years so that they can come along and psyop those kids into ending your genetic bloodline.
Now, I don't know if this is just one of those shock value things that he says, like one of those statements that he just throws out there to shock people. But for me, I think that's wild. I don't think they're after people's kids. I think that is probably one of the biggest misconceptions ever. That is one thing that tons of people spread all the time that I just don't think is true. You know, like people argue, oh, well, it's in school, you're teaching young kids to do that. No, they're just saying that if you feel these certain ways, we are accepting of that. You have a safe environment here at this school, regardless of if it's a safe environment at your house for being gay, for feeling how you feel. And it's just a safe environment. They're not pushing it on you, right? And even if they're trying to convince your kids to be gay or trying to convince your kids to do this and be that or whatever, I'm gonna be fully honest with you. I'm telling you, I know me personally, if somebody tried pushing that on me and they try telling me, oh, you should do that, you should do that, it's not gonna work. I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, actually, I'm gay now. No, that's not how that works. And I think that is one of the biggest things. People think that being gay or being transgender, they think that that is something like that you can, like, you're thought, like you're made to think, right? That's not something that, it's not a belief. You're born with that. Now when you're a kid, like little, like 2 or 3, you're not gonna understand it, right? You don't understand that kind of stuff, but that is just a thing that you were born with, right? It's not a belief system, it's how you're born. It is part of you. So this is like, I feel like such like a belief that a lot of people talk about. Now, not what Andrew Tate said specifically, but just the idea that they push it anyway and trying to push it on kids. I don't think they are. I think they're just trying to be welcoming. You know, trying to say we accept it if that's how you feel. Now, another unpopular opinion that he has said is he said that the only benefit of America is having an American passport outside of America.
Completely true. And also, I'll tell you something about being American, and this is what most Americans don't realize. The biggest freedom you get as American is being American outside of America. That's what you don't appreciate. If I'm in Moldova and a police stop me and I flash an American passport, they think, there's a big embassy. There's a big embassy here. American, they can kick up trouble if we push him too hard. Because it's a powerful passport, right? In America, if you're showing an American cop your passport, he doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't care. But having an American passport outside of America still has some influence. So Americans talk about freedom. I was like, you're more free with your passport somewhere else than you are in America. America's a police state.
So this one is not as bad as the other one. This one's whatever. Think how you think, whatever. You know, I'm not going to sit here and hate on him for that one. This one isn't like the worst one ever. I'm not going to lie. As you can tell by the other ones he has said. The only thing I'm going to say is I definitely think America has way more benefits than people realize. You know, other people and Andrew Tate, they like to sit here and say, well, the U.S. is ending. It's coming to an end. The empire is going to fall. Blah, 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 blah. All that kind of stuff. And is there a lot of problems right now? 1,000%, right? But I feel like I would much rather be in the US as opposed to some other countries, right? There's just so much opportunity in the US that are not present in a lot of countries. There's so much chance to make it here and to make good money and to have success, you know, and I think that's something that a lot of people forget to mention when they talk about America is they don't actually realize. Like me personally, I'm so happy I was born here. I'm so happy that I live here. You know, do I want to permanently live here for the rest of my life? Probably. Like I might have a house if I become super wealthy one day, I might have a house in another country or something. But I'm saying, like, I definitely like the US. I think there are a lot of problems, and, you know, that's why people have spoken out. I've spoken out about them before. You guys have seen some past videos I've done. If you haven't, there are some political videos I have done in the past. So yes, I definitely think there are problems, but I definitely feel like America as a whole is way better than some other countries out there. And I'm so happy that I'm here as opposed to some other countries, because some other countries are really bad. You know, just war, things like that. Things that I would not want to be growing up living in an environment in, if you know what I mean. Another one of his opinions is he believes that clinical depression is not real.
What do you believe about depression? Do you believe depression is a real thing?
I believe that feeling depressed is real. I don't believe depression as a clinical disease is real, no.
Really?
Correct.
You don't believe people can be clinically depressed?
I think PTSD is very real. Unfortunately, I have some friends who suffer from that. I know that feeling depressed is real. I believe that the number one power you have against these things are trying to take control of your own mind and affecting your own life. I believe that it's not healthy to hand over all your power and believe that depression is an outside disease that you can't affect.
Now, this for me is a wild take for him. Wild, just a crazy take. Depression is a chemical imbalance in your mind, right? Like clinical depression is an imbalance. I don't know why he's saying it's not real. For him, he thinks it's a mindset. And I think for some people, yes, right? Some people go through short periods of time where they are depressive, but they don't have depression. I think there's a big difference. People don't use those words, right? People don't, like, within, like, mental health and things like that, a lot of people do not use those terms right at all. A lot of those terms are overused, used incorrectly. So it makes, like, people think, oh, everybody has depression nowadays. No, a lot of people are just depressive. They have a depressive point in their life, but they don't have depression. So for him to say that it's not real, I think is wild. Like, I don't understand. Like, okay, maybe he doesn't have it. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Now, another thing he says, though, kind of with this, is, like, he believes that people are overdiagnosed and they push tons of medicine and things like that. And I'm not gonna deny, I definitely can see that. I feel like some people are overdiagnosed. Some people are diagnosed when in actuality they don't really have depression. I think sometimes it is just a point in your life where you are down. I'm not saying you don't feel certain ways, because I'm sure you do. I definitely think, though, it is overdiagnosed. I think a lot of things nowadays are overdiagnosed, but I still think they exist. I still think clinical depression is definitely out there, and there are a lot of people that suffer from it. You know what I mean? And I don't know what it's like to have it, because I don't have depression. So I cannot speak saying, oh yeah, I know what it feels like. I can't imagine what it feels like. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just think it's another claim that he makes that also doesn't make sense. It kind of goes against science and things like that too. So I don't really know where he's getting this information from. Another one of his opinions, and it kind of correlates a little bit, is he doesn't believe that panic attacks are real.
If anxiousness was a disease, or if you could feel like if panic attacks were real, which I don't believe they are, sometimes after a day of work, I feel like this world is a mess.
He says that in his mindset, he doesn't believe that they exist, so he doesn't have them. And I don't know. It's another insane take. I feel like I think everybody has had a panic attack. An anxiety attack is a little bit different, and that's another thing. People use those interchangeably. They're not interchangeable, but, you know, it's okay. People use them interchangeably, and that's just something that people do nowadays. Like I said, they use words that they don't really understand the meaning behind. So his idea, though, of panic attacks not being real is kind of insane. Almost everybody has had one, I'm pretty sure. So I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know. He says a lot of, you know, weird things, and there's a lot of takes that he has that just don't make sense. I'm like, what are you even talking about at this point? Like, what are you actually talking about? Where are you getting this information from? So if somebody feels like they're having a heart attack, they're shaking and they're crying, are you gonna sit here and tell me that they're okay? It's just a mindset. They're like, oh, you just need to get over it. Sir, you need to calm down. I don't know. He's like, I think sometimes he thinks too highly of himself. He's got way too big of an ego, but also very insecure. That's a hot take right there, I guess you could say. And the last unpopular opinion that I'm going to be sharing, he has a lot, but just that I've taken from notes is he believes that the last real religion is Islam.
What's your thought on Islam and everything? Because I know in the Quran and stuff, like you could have up to 4 wives and stuff. So I've seen you talk about it a little bit, but I would like to know like what you think about it.
I think it's the last religion on the planet.
You think it's the right religion?
I think it's the last religion. So if it's the last true religion on the planet, then it has to be the correct one. Because I don't think
How is it the last one?
It's the last religion because no other religion has boundaries which they enforce. If you will tolerate everything, then you stand for nothing. If your book says X, but you refuse to say the book says this, I'm sticking to what the book says. Doesn't matter what the subject is, right? I don't want to get us banned. I think everyone can work it out. If you're a Christian, 99% of Christians are ignoring every single rule inside the Bible.
Now, his backing behind it is saying how a lot of religions do not enforce the original rules that they had set. So he believes that Islam still does. So that's why it is the only real religion that is left. Now, as somebody, like I said, I am Catholic. And I think this is something that a lot of people like to do. You know, within the church, they have had a lot of rules that they have said, and they say, oh yeah, God isn't like that. That goes against that. No, that's a sin, right? Being gay, oh my gosh, that's a sin. Okay, well, actually, if you actually think about these things, God would not have a problem with you if you were gay. Are you kidding me? Do you really think that God's really gonna have that much of a problem? And I think here's the problem. The rules that are set in these religions were just set by the people who like started to really like have the formation of the religion sort, and they had these beliefs, so they enforced it. Do you really think back in like I don't even know where, like, are you kidding me? Like, do you really think way back when Christianity started that people were saying that they were gay? No, that was not a word that was used back then. Okay, so I don't really like. I don't know. And I think it's just one of those things where as the world develops, as the world is changing and becoming like modernized, things like that, as that happens, religion should also form with it, right? And there are different interpretations of the Bible, right? Like a lot of people do not believe that Adam and Eve, that's a real story. They think that it was more of symbolic, not actually legit what happened. So there are definitely interpretations within the Bible, and I'm sure with other religions too. I'm just not 100% familiar, so that's what I'm talking about, specifically what I know. So for me, it's like, I don't think Islam is the real religion that is left. Have a lot of people stuck to the original teachings? Yes. And that's fine, right? You know, if everyone's happy, that's fine. But I think for other religions, they have changed a little bit, which is also fine. It doesn't make them not a real religion. It just means that they're changing with how the world is also changing and trying to be, you know, more acceptable to everybody. Because God would have been. God wouldn't have wanted people to not love him and not feel welcome by him because they, you know, because of who they loved or because they did say get like an abortion, which a lot of people also do not believe with in the Catholic Church. So these ideas, but God would have forgiven somebody who, you know, got an abortion. God also would love people who love who they love because God's not gonna care. So I definitely think that these ideas sometimes are pushed on, you know, people's ideas are pushed and saying, oh, this is what God would think. No, I don't think it's what God would think. So I definitely think that yet again, the idea that the only real religion is Islam, I just don't truly believe that that's true. I think a lot of other religions still exist. They just have changed a little bit. Now, next thing I'm going to talk about is I'm going to be talking about some of the effects of what he says. Like some stories that some people have said that have, like, some people have been influenced by Andrew Tate. So the first kind of not a side effect, but we'll say side effect of Andrew Tate is this girl said that her ex-boyfriend told her that he was going to release revenge corn, if you know what I mean. I don't know if I can say that word on YouTube. If she doesn't take back what she said on social media.
My ex-boyfriend was radicalized by Andrew Tate.
to the point of threatening to release revenge porn unless I took back what I said on social media against his sexist, misogynistic views.
Because he feels like, control, things like that, because Andrew Tate pushes that narrative that men should be in control. So that's where this guy kind of got this idea from. Now, another thing that has been talked about is a lot of women have expressed their, worries about Andrew Tate's messaging.
It's like a virus, the things that he's spreading. The scariest thing is, I have no idea if the next guy I meet could be an Andrew Tate fan.
As a teacher, it's definitely worrisome. There are boys who look up to him, especially those that are maybe vulnerable and they're sort of going to go into the real world carrying those violent views with them.
I'm 14. The boys at school my age think that it's okay to say horrible things like women are men's property and they get to do what they want with them. It makes me really disappointed in my generation.
Obviously, as you heard some of his unpopular opinions, if they're just crazy. They're very super, super, super conservative thinking. And they are so, they're bad. They are bad to be pushing to younger kids who at least used to definitely follow Andrew Tate. They probably still do to this day, honestly. And that's a problem, right? Because you're teaching young kids to have these certain views, and these certain views are bad. They're bad for society, and they're bad for other women too in society, because they're very, very male-centered opinions. So it's just not a good kind of environment that he is creating, and obviously there are definitely a lot of side effects. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is I'm going to be talking about all of the allegations that have been made against Andrew Tate, things that have got him arrested, but actually, you know what I mean. They've got him in trouble. We'll put it that way. Now, before I get into any of the allegations that have been made against Andrew Tate, I do want to make it very clear that, innocent until proven guilty. I'm not saying that Andrew Tate is guilty of any of this. I'm not stating that at all. I'm simply just telling you what other people have alleged of Andrew Tate and what Andrew Tate has gotten in trouble with the cops. Now, not that he directly has been charged with these crimes, just charges that the police have looked into, possibly that Tate could have committed. Not that he did do any of it, I'm just letting you know of everything. Yet again, not saying that he did these crimes. I'm just letting you know and informing everybody on what has been alleged against Andrew Tate. Now, the first allegation that was made about Andrew Tate was by this girl named Amelia. Now, that is not her real name. It is a name that they use in the press so that she can hide her real identity. So it's kind of just like a Jane Doe kind of name. Now, she said that in 2013, her and Tate, they were making out a little bit, and Andrew Tate just stopped. And then he was kind of he said to her how he contemplated essaying her. And then after that, she stated that he was aggressive and how she was not a fan of it and didn't like it at all.
Amelia began seeing Andrew in 2013. Due to fear of harassment from his fans, she is withholding her real name.
I always knew, even from back in the day, there was always things said bad about him. But when I'd seen him again in 2013, I thought, oh, all these rumours about him may be false because he's actually been really lovely. The first time I went around his house, because before it was maybe 3-4 times we got on dates, we started to make out on the bed. Out of the blue, he literally just stopped what he was doing and just laid back. He said, I'm just contemplating whether I should rape you or not. And I promise you, within an instant, he changed. He just jumped straight on top of me, grabbed my throat, started suffocating me, strangling me. The more I didn't want to, it made him so much more aggressive, to the point where he was pinning me down, hurting me. The things he was saying to me, he was like, who do you belong to? Who do you belong to? And the more I couldn't say it, the more he'd hurt me. So I couldn't see an escape. And at that point, I just gave up.
Now, that is a very common thing you'll see with these allegations. A lot of people allege that he was aggressive, which is something you'll see that is very common within a lot of these allegations. Now, there were texts that were released, Andrew Tate said, and one of them, directly quoting one of his texts, says, "And I love raping you."
They clearly didn't think a text from a man to a woman saying, I love raping you, I know what I do to you is abusive and controlling. To CPS, apparently, that's not enough.
That's one of the text messages that, was uncovered, that was sent by Andrew Tate to somebody. So take that as you will. Now, the next allegation made about Andrew Tate was from this girl named Sally. Yet again, this is another name to cover her real identity, kind of like Jane Doe, but just Sally. Now, she alleged that Andrew Tate punched her in the arm, so she went to the bathroom because she didn't want to get upset in front of him.
One of those women was Sally. She was 20 when Andrew Tate approached her for webcam work. Due to fears of harassment from his fan base, she is also withholding her real name.
First night that I worked for him, Andrew bought me 5 bottles of wine. So I got completely drunk because I'd never done webcam work. So I was very, very nervous. Then that night, we were just sitting on the bed and Andrew punched me in my arm. I went to the bathroom and cried. It really, really hurt to have someone just hit me in the arm for no reason. I was very confused. Sorry. Sorry, I don't want to cry.
It's okay.
So then when I came out of the bathroom, he was super, super nice. From what I remember, Andrew didn't have any alcohol at all. It was literally just me. That night we cuddled and we ended up having sex and I was really, really drunk. That was my first night. Then it was kind of every single night I would work.
Were there any other instances where there was physical abuse?
He used to strangle us as well.
When she was leaving the bathroom, she saw him essaying another girl who also would usually sleep next to Andrew Tate. So the girl that got punched in the arm, Sally, and this other girl would sleep next to Andrew Tate or whatever. So that's what she saw.
There was another time when he came into the bedroom, me and the other girl, we would sleep in the same bed with Andrew, but at this time the girl had a partner, so she was not interested in Andrew at all. And I had gone to the shower, I came back and I noticed he was, I saw him raping her. And
now, specifically in the documentary on Peacock, it's called I Am Andrew Tate. Go watch it. If you didn't watch it, I'd recommend that. Now, in this documentary, this girl who Sally saw getting essayed by Andrew Tate, allegedly, she said how this was not the first time, it was actually the second instance of this happening. So there was all those allegations that were made against him. Now, these allegations were made specifically in the UK, so not in Romania. This was all happening in the UK, and this is older. So he did end up getting arrested in 2015 because of these allegations, but never actually was officially charged, didn't go get sentenced to jail or anything. He was just arrested based on these allegations in 2015. So Andrew Tate basically responded saying how they just wanted money because they were fired, and the police, according to Tate, said the police found text messages between the girls saying that they were planning on lying.
They wanted money because I fired them. The police understood after the investigation that I am innocent, and the police found messages from the girls' phones where they were talking between themselves and planning to lie about me.
Now, Sally came forward and she said how one of the reasons the case was dismissed was because there were text messages released between her and the other girl, basically talking about if they should mention to the cops how he was giving them alcohol, because apparently that's what was happening. So that was apparently the text messages.
He said the CPS sent a letter saying that one of the reasons they didn't charge Tate was because they found voice notes on our phones where we talked about whether we should tell the police that he gave us alcohol. We were talking about it because that is what happened. He used to get us drunk.
And, that's just what apparently happened, was allegedly what went down with all of that. Now, another thing that came out is there were allegedly voicemails that Andrew Tate sent women in 2015, and these voicemails are definitely disturbing and definitely make you feel a little grossed out when you hear them.
Didn't like that I was thinking I can do whatever I want to. That's what it is. I'm the smartest person on this planet. Am I a bad person? Because the more you didn't like it, the more I enjoyed it. I f***ing loved how much you hated it. Turned me on.
Now, another alleged victim that came forward was Lauren Southern. Now, she said she went out to Romania, and while out there one night, she got intoxicated, and then when she gained consciousness again, she was in a room with Tate, and she basically claimed that Andrew Tate essayed her and how he also did choke her, which yet again is another thing that a lot of these women have alleged of Andrew Tate and just other violent kind of natured activities, if that makes any sense. So the next allegation made against Andrew Tate also does concern his brother Tristan. Now, Andrew and Tristan were both alleged to be doing sex trafficking in Romania, and they did end up getting, their house raided by the Romanian police. So basically what happened was there was this one girl from Florida who met Tristan in Florida when he was out there. They ended up talking. She thought, that things were going well between the two of them. So she decided to fly out to Romania. Tristan bought her plane ticket and everything. So when she got out to Romania, she was put in a house with a lot of other girls, and these girls were all trying to, get her to do OF with them. Tristan was trying to get her to do OF or webcamming, one of the two, things that she just wasn't comfortable with doing. And this is part of one of the reasons why that they have these charges that have been made against them.
So she was in South Florida. She lived in Florida. She was in Miami for a couple of weeks. She met Tristan Tate online. They started a very romantic relationship right away, talking about music, and he told her she was special. She was an artist, and they met in person in Miami, hit it off, and she believed she was in a romantic relationship with him. She spent almost the entirety of her time with him while he was in Florida. Then he left. They kept in contact, and he invited her to Romania. He mentioned it when they were together in Florida. They talked about it again, and then he paid for her plane ticket and brought her to Romania. But when she got there almost immediately, things did not seem right. He said, she's like about to board the plane, and he says, well, I want to tell you the ground rules, 3 rules before you come. And she said, okay, what are those? And he said, no body hair at all. You need to teach me music, and no outside friends. You can't speak to anybody unless I introduce you. So that set the tone, and she was already feeling uncomfortable. Then she gets there and is almost immediately put in a house with these other women who are all seemingly working on OnlyFans. He's not even around. So she thought they're going to travel Europe together. He's going to show her the sights. This is going to be like a fun romantic trip. But he's not available. He's even leaving, going out of town at times. And she's with all these women doing OnlyFans. And, they're asking her to do it. He says, meet my manager of OnlyFans. She's going to tell you how great it is. And, consider it. And so she started to think, well, seems like I was brought here for a different purpose. And like, he just wants to manage me on OnlyFans. And then she just saw more and more concerning things.
Now, Mary Doe was somebody who allegedly was abused by Andrew Tate. Now, what happened is Andrew messaged her, and Mary was like a very she was religious, things like that. So her and, Andrew started talking about that. And Andrew, they grew quickly. Andrew was saying how they were going to get married. So she flew out to Romania to meet him, to go see him, things like that. So when she flew out to Romania, once she got out there, Andrew wanted her to start doing, different sexual activities and things like that on his webcam business for him to make a profit, and she allegedly didn't want to do that and was uncomfortable with that. Now, these two girls specifically ended up meeting at this house, and the girl from Florida stated that she thought that Mary seemed very abused emotionally, different things like that.
Andrew met her in London, and she was a new Christian, a very innocent young woman. And Andrew had actually first reached out to her on Instagram because she liked a post of his on traditional values. And she liked that. And so he reached out to her and messaged her, and they met in person in London. And so he specifically connected with her on her desire to have marriage and family, Christian values, traditional values. He lied to her about believing in those things and believing in God. And so their relationship escalated very quickly. He said he was going to marry her. And so he asked her to come to Romania, and she came. But then when she came, all of the little cracks in the story started to show, but he kept lying. So he kept saying that he was only in a relationship with her and they were going to get married. But meanwhile, he is simultaneously in very serious relationship with another woman and also numerous other women. But particularly, there's another woman he was saying the same very serious things about getting married and having children at the same time. And they're living in a house together. So that woman knows Mary Doe was brought here and is obviously not happy and treating her badly. And Mary Jo doesn't know what to believe because Andrew Tate's telling her, oh, just ignore that woman, you know, she's crazy kind of thing. And then meanwhile, he's pushing her boundaries and pushing her boundaries. So he's telling her to take sexual pictures with these other girls. She's saying, I'm not attracted to women. I don't want to do that. I don't believe in that. He's sending her Bible verses about obeying your husband. And so, he tells her it's not about, you know, doing sexual things with other girls. I just want to see that you'll obey me. I want to see that you'll do something you don't want to do for me. So that's how he was manipulating her and slowly pushing her to do more and more things where she's now taking sexual pictures, engaging in sexual activity with these other women. Ultimately, he really coerces her into a threesome with these other women. And she immediately after is sobbing and hysterical and distressed. And she had to get drunk beforehand and all this. And he knows all that. So she was feeling lost and desperate. And like she had sacrificed all her values now for this relationship. And so that also made her feel like she had invested so much she couldn't walk away. She just felt completely helpless. Like she did not know what to do.
Now, there were other women who were also arrested too, along with Andrew and Tristan for these allegations due to being co-conspirators trying to get these, get different women to participate in the webcam business when they didn't want to. Now, the reason that this whole thing came about and the method that Andrew and Tristan used, according to the cops, where they believed that they were using the lover boy method, which basically means that they tell girls that they love them, they're going to marry them, things like that, have them come to where they are, and then try to get them to do things that they necessarily wouldn't do different, on webcamming, different things like that. And this is what allegedly happened. And that's why Andrew and Tristan did end up getting locked in prison in a Romanian jail for, I think it was 6 months. They ended up staying there. Now they weren't officially charged with these crimes, but they did have to stay in jail, but eventually got released to house arrest. Andrew Tate also faced some allegations with supposedly getting with a minor and doing money laundering. These, I don't have any specific necessarily, with money laundering, I don't really know. There just wasn't a whole lot on it. And when it comes to the minor, there wasn't a direct statement made. This is just something that apparently a minor did go and told the cops that something happened. Yet again, I don't have any clips for this stuff because I just couldn't find a whole lot on it, as the identity and things like that are very closed off, as with a lot of these victims, or a lot of the identities are protected. Now, somebody whose identity was not protected and did come forward was Bree Stern. Now, she was a model in Los Angeles, and when Andrew Tate came to California, they kind of whatever, they were hitting it off, whatever, and she alleged that at first the activities were consensual, and then he just got kind of violent with it, doing things that she wasn't comfortable with, and she felt like she was being taken advantage of by him, and just kind of abusive almost. And when she told people around her, they said, yeah, that's not normal, things like that. Now, this is not a criminal she's doing a civil case on him, has a lawsuit. Don't know if that ever ended or if it's still ongoing.
In the lawsuit, what started as consensual sex in the early hours of March 11th turned more violent as she begged Tate to stop. Stern's attorney Tony Busby also providing NBC News with these photos, not in the lawsuit, alleging they show the initial bruising on her face. The lawsuit saying she was later diagnosed and treated for post-concussion syndrome. NBC News reviewed parts of Stern's hospital discharge paperwork confirming her diagnosis.
But Andrew Tate did deny all these allegations and doesn't, says that he didn't do any of them. And when it comes to the webcamming thing, that was just not. It was misinterpreted, and people used, what they thought to try to make a case out of it. But he claims that it was just a simple webcamming business and how people took it and spun it and made it illegal when it actually wasn't. Now, I'm going to give you my overall thoughts on Andrew Tate and tell you my final opinion on him. So, my overall opinion of Andrew Tate. I have watched so much content of Andrew Tate. I have probably watched roughly 40 hours of interviews with Andrew Tate. And from what I gather, and this is going to sound really shocking to a lot of people, I genuinely think Andrew Tate is insecure. I really do. A lot of the things he does is almost things that guys would do to get more power, right? The things he says, the way he acts, different things like that definitely give off like men wanting more power. That's what they do when they feel like they don't have any power. They do these actions to feel like they get more power. So in my opinion, I think Andrew Tate is insecure. I almost have to wonder how many girls he's actually getting as well. I don't know. I have to wonder sometimes because he acts like he can have anybody he wants, but I don't know if that's true. The way he acts, I just don't get the vibes that that's actually true. And he's just trying to sell it, but it's not actually what's happening behind closed doors. Now, another thing about Andrew Tate, I will say, I understand why so many young boys and even people in their 20s and 30s got so attached to him and saw him as somebody who was actually going to help them. Because the way he talks makes you want to believe what he's saying, right? Like, he takes his opinion and says it in a way that it's straightforward, but also he talks so long about it, it makes you be like, oh my gosh, maybe he is right. You know what I mean? But then you're like, wait, no. His baseline opinion, his opinion that he's stating, his claim is bad. It's not good. And he does that because he talks. He uses a lot of like good, like strong, hard vocabulary. He uses a lot of he makes it sound like he's selling it to you. Every opinion he says, he's trying to sell to people. And I will say, when it comes to him, like business-wise, I think he's very intelligent with business and that kind of stuff. I also think his takes on the Matrix or whatever, I think it's very interesting to think that it's like, okay, maybe he's partially right with that. I don't know. I don't really know, but it's definitely interesting to hear. It's just he has so many bad opinions in my opinion. I think a lot of his opinions bad. I don't agree with most of them, honestly. And there's just too many allegations for me to support him. For me personally, when somebody has so many allegations against them, it's like, it's done. I'm done. I'm sorry. I don't know. I just can't support somebody. And I'm not saying that these allegations are true. I'm not saying they're not true. I'm just saying, for me, when there's too many allegations, sometimes it's hard for me to support somebody that has that, because it's like, I don't know. It's like, what if they are true and I'm sitting here supporting him? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know if they are, right? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and I'm not the judge. I'm not the jury. I'm not, you know what I mean? So for me, it's like, I'm whatever, but I'm just saying, it would like make me feel horrible as a person to be sitting here supporting him if these allegations were true, if he was found guilty and these were true. Now, alongside just ignoring even the allegations, like I said, his opinions, the things that he pushes, I personally, I can't get behind. I think it's very toxic. It's basically telling men to treat women like crap. You know what I mean? Oh, women are just used for their beauty, and that's all they have, and all this, like, just all these things that he says, and all the men are like, oh, yeah, I agree with that. And some women are like, oh, I agree with that too. What do you mean you agree with that too? Is that all you want? Just to be known for because you're attractive? You don't want to be able to speak your mind? Like, you wouldn't be called stupid? Like, whatever. You know, it's not me. If that's how they want to live their life, good for them. They choose that. I have no problem. Whatever. But I don't know. There's just, I think my biggest hot take on Andrew Tate is I genuinely think that he is insecure. I think people don't say that, and because he seems like he is so confident and all this stuff, I think he's insecure, honestly. The way he acts, just everything around him, I feel like he is insecure. But let me know your thoughts down below. I hope you guys enjoyed, maybe learned something new about Andrew Tate that you didn't know previously. I know me personally, I didn't really know a lot about him. I just saw his content when he first got popular, and I just didn't really, I don't know. I mean, I never got into him, obviously, but I just didn't know really what he was saying either. I didn't care to. You know, I just heard bad things about him, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna stay away, I guess. I didn't have like the urge to go look into him. But I definitely thought he was a very interesting person to look into. If you ever watch any of his interviews, they are really interesting. It's really interesting to watch him debate people too, like that he doesn't like see eye to eye with. Those are very interesting. I will be fully honest, they're very entertaining. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll talk to you guys next video. Bye!